Good morning. Welcome to my very first episode of my channel, The Rock and Metal Guardian. I'm Dane. Today we're going to talk about my 10 favorite bands of all time as a kind of get to know you, kind of get to know the content creator and what he's all about. Just a taste, because I like so many different other bands, but these are my top 10 of all time. Number 10 is Sweet. I'm a big nut when it comes to glam rock. It's my favorite glam rock band of all time. This is the British version of Desolation Boulevard, much different from the American version, which was marketed as a regular album, but it's actually a greatest hits album. As you can see, there's some songs on here that are not on the American version, such as Turn It Down, Medusa. Fox on the Run is even a different version, sounds different. Breakdown, My Generation, a Who cover. Own Up, Take a Look at Yourself, great song. Burn on the Flame, great song. Those are, not, as I said, not on the original. not on the American version. Also, you have Someone Else Will and Lady Starlight, which at one point made its way onto the special edition version of Give Us a Wink, bonus track version. Can't get it that way anymore, I don't think. So, Brian Connolly, love his vocals. So there you have it, number 10. Number 9 is Whitesnake. This is the double 2-disc version, the 30th anniversary. It has a live album called Snakeskin Boots, which is the 87-88 live recording from this tour of this album. I like everything they do. I'm a big fan of David Coverdale. I always have been since I first heard the song Trouble on their first album on the radio. I was probably 12 when I heard that. This is a hard rock / glam 80s metal sound, much different from their earlier stuff. We get a taste of that on the Slide It In album, but this is really where they began to adopt with the times. I like it. So number 9 is Whitesnake. Number 8, Mott the Hoople. I'm a big Ina Hunter fan, as you can see, representing with the t-shirt. I first got into them after high school. Never heard of them. And one day, guy I started working with, we started talking about music, go figure. And he said, yo, Dane, you got to listen to these guys. So I started to investigate, found used copies of the vinyl editions in the French Quarter. Been hooked ever since. Their first album, Ian Hunter's voice sounds a little gruff, very Dylan-esque. Not as Dylan-esque as his voice is now in his solo career. The last 5 or 6 albums, he sounds very much more like Dylan, not my cup of tea. The earlier young type Dylan-esque, not quite totally Dylan-esque sounding, I like. Rock and Roll Queen and that sort of stuff on the first album. Glam band as well. For the most part, they have a country. They have a rock album with some country edge to it called Wildlife. That's, I think, their second album. I like that as well. David Bowie helped their career when they started to flail a little bit by giving them his song "All the Young Dudes." Also, the name of that album that song appears on. Okay, so here you go. Number 8. Number 7, Uriah Heep. This is where I came in. Of course, because I heard Easy Living on the radio as a very young man, probably 12 again, 13 maybe even younger. And then one day I heard the song Stealin'. I thought it was Grenfell Railroad. My friend was like, no, that's Uriah Heep. A guy who lived down the street from me was a big rock fan too, and he corrected me. And that song Stealin' is really what we got into investigating the band further. It's just more than those 2 songs. The David Byron era is my favorite. I like the John Lawton stuff as well. So if you're not familiar with them, by the way, I love that Roger Dean cover. So if you don't know them that much, I highly suggest, if you like hard rock blended with some pop rock, has some Hammond organ, cool bass fills, and just great stuff. Give them a shot. see where we are. 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 6, UFO. I've seen, when I was a kid, teenager, I've seen their albums, their vinyl records in various record stores, and never gave them a second look, excuse me. And then one day I'm out with my friends after high school, and I hear Rock Bottom come on the jukebox, and I was totally blown away. So I had to look into it further. Okay, number 6. Now this next one, sometimes it's my 4th favorite, and of course sometimes my 4th is number 5. But in the last couple of years, this has been, let's say longer than that, this has been my 5th favorite band of all time. Talking about Judas Priest. Get rid of that glare there. There we go. Judas Priest. This is not where I came in. I came in with the Screaming for Vengeance album when I was in high school, maybe even actually grammar school. In grammar school, Screaming for Vengeance came out. And before bed, I would listen to what was called Album Hour on my favorite radio station at night, WRNO, which stood for We're the Rock of New Orleans. And they had this show every night, Monday through Friday. So that's where I first heard the Screaming for Vengeance album. And this is the second album I looked into. So those are my 2 favorite Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance and this one. This is where you get a taste, not only of Rob Halford's. Speaking of Rob Halford, here we go. This is where you get a taste of Rob's vocal range besides his operatic on the song Epitaph, the second to last song. We have him in a more deeper register. Not everyone likes that, but I warmed up to it after a while, after a couple listens. Okay, so number 5, Judas Priest. Number 4 should not be a surprise to anyone. Who doesn't like Black Sabbath and their rock and heavy metal? This is not where I came in. I came in with Paranoid, like most people. This is not the second, like Judas Priest is the second album I'm showing that I investigated after the first album I heard. It's interesting. You have a picture of torture in hell, pleasantry and rest in heaven, foreshadowing perhaps Ronnie James Dio's moniker with the band on his second or third go-round, Heaven and Hell. Talk about chemistry. Ozzy isn't the greatest singer, but just something that works with him and the rest of the guys in the band. The start of doom metal here. Not on this album, probably Master of Reality is the start of doom metal and moves into volume 4. This is less doomy, but still great album. All right, so number 4, Black Sabbath. Number 3, Deep Purple. Why do I like Whitesnake so much? I see them as an extension of Deep Purple. That bluesy voice of David Coverdale, right? Also love the Ian Gillan stuff, is wonderful. I even like the first 3 albums, which has a Vanilla Fudge feel to it. I'm not sure if they were trying to copy or imitate Vanilla Fudge, but it has that sound to it. I like it. But Ian Gillan and David Coverdale, Mark II and Mark III, are my favorite. Here you go, Stormbringer. By the way, these albums I'm showing, CDs I'm showing you, same thing, really. Use album metaphorically as CD. These releases I'm showing you are not necessarily my favorite of each album I'm presenting to you. The first album, like the Burn album, is a nice hard rocker, and then 2 through 7 are your bluesy tracks, and then 8 and 9 have some blues elements from a thematic standpoint. The Loner, the What's My Fortune Gonna Be, the Gypsy, that kind of stuff. So it's got that bluesy vocal tone, that bluesy, I'm depressed, what do I do with my life kind of thing. I'm lost, the lost soul kind of thing. Works really well. This is the last album with Ritchie Blackmore until a reunion with Perfect Strangers. I love this album. A lot of people panned this, but this is like one of my favorite Deep Purple. This is probably my top 10, if not my top 5. So Deep Purple, number 3, one of my favorite bands of all time. Number 2 used to be my number 1 for years. Led Zeppelin. Can't go wrong with Led Zeppelin. Every album they've put out are masterpieces, if not, with the exception of Coda. Coda's a good album. Especially if you get the this is the 2-disc version of the remastered stuff that Jimmy Page did. Really cool. Got the gatefold original of the vinyl right there. Really nice looking, right? It's got 2 discs, as I said. It's the I guess the negative image kind of looking thing on the back. John Paul Jones, my favorite member of the band, so versatile. Renaissance man, bass guitar, Hammond organ, piano, mandolin. Love the scratchy vocals. Bluesy of Robert Plant. Jimmy Page, one of my favorite guitarists, and of course the monster beast on drums, John Bonham. All right, finally, my favorite band of all time is Rush. I discovered them in grammar school. I was apparently one of the last people to ever heard of them in my classroom. I remember a young lady sat in front of me, I think her name was Tracy, and as we used to in high school and grammar school, we would write the band logos on our binders and our notebooks, and she had a bunch. She had, Zeppelin and you name it, right? She had Rush. I'm like, who's that? She's like, you never heard of Rush? So I looked into it. This is where I came in. I was 14 when this came out. And whenever I listen to it, I'm 14 again. So it was one of my favorite years. Here's the songs, 7 glorious tracks. They're magnum opus, if you ask me. Why do I like Rush so much? Because I love the progressiveness of their music. I love the complication, the different time signatures. I'm just a big nut for that. There's something emotionally driven about this band. They play from the heart. Alex Lifeson's my favorite guitar player of all time. I'll do a video later on why and explain why. Geddy Lee, versatile bass player, keyboard player, Hammond organ, all types of keys, Taurus pedals, you name it. Great voice. I love his voice. No one sounds like Rush. Perhaps that's why I love them so much, and that's why they're my favorite band of all time. Great band. And who can forget about Neil Peart? My favorite drummer also of all time. Second would be John Bonham. The bass in this band is not just the rhythm section. It's up front with the guitar and drums. All 3 of them. If you talk about a band that has probably the best chemistry and the best synergy between the 3 of them, this would be it. Another reason why I like them so much. I don't like them, I love them. They're my favorite band, as I said. So there you have it, my 10 favorite bands of all time. If you like what you saw today, please go ahead and click the like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching.